We about to soon start in a few minutes, so sit tight. Welcome again to another session of Chaos Ring Channel. And I'm Chaos right here. And let me see how things sound. Okay, it looks like I sound better without the noise effects. So, I get it figured out as we go through. But nonetheless, this is going to be a very interesting show. I'm just going to do one more look at Word and probably going to start. Oh, and for those that is new to this channel, please subscribe to the channel. Um, I would say hit the red button, hit the top bell, not the middle bell or the lower bell. The top bell is when you know that there's notification when there's an upload or when Chaos Rain goes live. And another thing, you can now follow me on Twitter at Chaos Rain 7. I'm not really as much active. I will be more active with certain things on Twitter. So, just subscribe to me on Twitter. Also, you could also now follow me on Facebook, titled Eric Rain. Let me spell it for y'all. It's Erick, and last one is Rain. I'm also on Facebook. If you want to hit me up for any suggestions, show topics of shows, and if you want to be a guest on the call-in show or etc., leave me a message in the comment section or in my inbox on Facebook. That's another way of contacting me. I tell people I've been doing the podcasting for a couple years now before doing YouTube, so it's a very usual transition. Still, nothing's really perfect. There's always some ways to get the kinks of this algorithm, but the algorithm is going to operate nonetheless. Um, and one thing with the YouTube, they're not always send you notifications when you go live per se. That's something occasionally. You think they would do their job, but you never know because there's a lot of weirdness going on here, unfortunately. So let's check. And I'm listening to two different outputs to see how my sound is. So one more test. Okay, I'm gonna have to raise the volume on this. All right. Well, anyway, I'm just gonna start. Yeah. Oh, and one last thing, please share the stream as well. All right. Move this out the way. Okay. Hmm. I'm doing one last thing to check. Okay, no, that's very low now. All right, let me see if that will fix the noise cancellation. It's going to be background. But... All right. Ooh. Okay, we're just going to go with Pro. So today's stream is titled. Let's look. I'm going to try to get the name of the title. The title for today's stream is titled Sexless Marriage. Can a man, and I mean a man, can a man really accept it? So, it's a question that should be asked to every man, especially a black man, should be asking this question of all things. Or any man, if we want to really say that. But since we are talking about race, space specifically, because this is something new that I discovered about man's not getting no sex at home. Now, if y'all guys would recall on the video months ago of last year, and if I could remember, there was one young dude that he was a millennial just like his wife. And for some reason, he married his wife, and they've been married for maybe more than 5 years. They got married in their mid-20s. And he has discovered on air in front of public space to tell and admit that he's not getting no sex at home. And his wife tried as best as possible, which not a good thing she did, of gaslighting the man, even going as far as explaining, why he's not having intercourse with him. And I'm only just giving you a background because this is something I could just recall. This was last year. And we all remember that incident. And then a lot of podcasters slash YouTubers have talked about this. And they, even some men admit they're not going to be in no relationship where, the woman's not going to have sex. That's not going to happen. Oh, no, that's not happening anytime soon. And some even said that this man should got himself a side piece, which he could be right. But that was something that was discussed last year. And I can't remember the two couples. If I find it, I might post it on my Facebook, the stream I might have talked about, or just it in general. I'll do that. But matter of fact, is it on my Facebook now? Let me check since I'm talking to y'all. It should be on there. Let me find it since I'm talking to y'all because to give you the name because I don't want to just mention something. I don't give you the name of it. Let's see if I can find it. I'm scrolling down now. This might be challenging because that was like months ago last year. So, let me think. See if I can find it. And this is very challenging because I have to look for this. Okay, that's not it. Hmm, that's a lot. A lot of stuff I post on my Facebook. If you're not on my Facebook, add me on. You'll see some of the posts. All right, let's look down. Okay, I did not see it. I did not see that. Oh, interesting. I can't. I guess I did not post that on my Facebook. That is something new. Okay, I guess we'll move on. I did not really post it, but if I do find it, I will. Maybe I will. Who knows? But anywho, you because that happened last year. You know, a lot of content creators have talked about it. We moved on. But now, a new thing that I'm noticing now, and this is surprising to me, very surprising. And the thing I find is now I'm finding even more information of the few black men, I think either men that have high degrees or just in general, men in general, after they're married, they're not getting no more sex from their wife. Maybe after giving birth to one child or two. Hmm. And I find that to be a no no, a very much a no no. And the reason why I say no no because you a man, you went out your way to make the better of yourself, your situation, or whatever you're doing. And you're bound by, they said, quote unquote, a covenant. And that there's certain duties a man and woman should fulfill, especially if they are married. Now, how I look at this is you cannot be a man of any status, whether middle, low status, high status, or stuff, and you come in a situation where your wife is not sucking your dick or fucking. Now, there could be many reasons why this is happening. I don't know the details. I remember a particular professor mentioned there are certain details what goes into this. I remember me and the Great Liberator were talking about this in detail about this as well. Um, my thing is this: you as a man, if you are still able to function sexually, and your wife is not giving you no sex for whatever reason, it seems to me she's not holding her end of the bargain. Now, before I say what you should do or what you're normally doing anyway, let's look at this. How well you're in communication with your wife? Because now, for you and her to be in a relationship and go as far as after a relationship, you now take a relationship to a much bigger level where now you want to say that this is my mistress, you're my wife for the long haul, hopefully. And my thing is this: how are you in good communications with your wife, even now, back then, and now? Before she stopped giving you the pussy or she stopped sucking dick? Because I've heard that, you know, some wives, after a while, just haven't stopped having sex with their husbands because, their husbands are bad in bed. That's one possibility. But the biggest question you should ask as a woman: if your husband sucks giving you the dick, and literally he sucks,
All right.
why do you go as far as marry him? All this is transaction, ladies. If a man has a certain position and he was never good at the start, marry him. You could only fake it so far. But it comes to the point where I would say as men, we could probably blame because there's certain signs. But like I said, we're not fortune tellers, we're not mind readers. So we're not gonna pick up on these signs overall. And it's sad that, it comes to this point in your life in a marriage that you probably work hard, you stress hard, depending on what you're doing, and after a while, you're ready to cuddle, do all the husband duties, and hopefully, your reward. Sometimes, probably at night, your wife is gonna be ready to serve you, and serve you well. That is normally the intention, but as we notice, that is not the case overall. From what I'm hearing now, and it is a goddamn shame. A goddamn shame that this is what life is during marriage that I'm discovering now. Sad, it's sad. I mean, it goes into the depths of, why men even not only settle, but is this what marriage is now composed of? In the 20th century, now we're in the 21st century. And there's probably plenty of data right now talks about this. Sexless marriage. Men going sexless. Matter of fact, if I Google it right now, and there's probably some links to this that might go into deep detail this.
All right.
And let's see how good Google is to me. Let's Google it right now. Let's look. When the cause of sex relationship is surprising. This was in March 2018. I don't want that article. Let's check another one. Looks like some tips and books. This is not it. And there's sex therapist answer question here. This looks like some little blog thing. Let me see when this came out. I'm just gonna look into this. I don't know if I'm gonna read the whole thing. Let me see what year this came out. Because this one looks like this could be one of the articles. This article. Oh no, this was last year. Okay, I could look at this. Came out November 9th, 2020. And this is titled A Sex Therapist Answer to 5 Common Questions About Sexless Marriage. Now, this is from this article by Considerable. The United States National Health and Social Life Survey defines a sexless marriage as couples who aren't engaged in sexual activity or are having minimal sexual encounters. There is a surprise lack of research into the subject. But according to Denise A. Donnell, Associate Professor of Sociology at Georgia State University, an estimate of 15% of married couples have not had sex in the last 6 months to 1 year. Now, I'm not sure if that's the average in America. Possibly that is. I think it's greater now, but this is the little study, 15%. And now it goes into the details. And let's share this. And I'll put this in the description of the video. The leading cause. There are many reasons why a marriage can become sexless. Mismatch, sexual libido, lack of communication, childbirth, antidepressants, hypersexual desire disorders, low sex drive, That's what it means. A history of sexual abuse, porn addictions, grief, vaginal dryness as a result of menopause, body image, financial problems, and erectile dysfunction. And just to name a few, whatever the root cause, there are solutions to all of these issues if both parties are committed to the tackling of them. Now, the erectile dysfunction I find very odd and interesting. They have things now for that. They got the blue pills, all these crazy drugs that's out here for the pharmaceuticals that send out and you buy and purchase that can correct that. I mean, I would say if you are a healthy man or you're a man that's lacking of keeping it up, you need to change your diet. You're going to have to really go and do a cleanse because normally when your dick don't function no more like that and it stop getting hard, that's a sign of coronary heart disease on the average. Fuck what you heard about. They talking about say low libido. No, your heart is not functioning like it should be because it requires blood to push in that penis to get it hard as a rock. Hell, another good test you could tell your stiffness test if you get a normal erection when you wake up. You're not getting on the average or you rarely getting it up in the morning. Yeah, you might have to start doing cleanse or something like that. Besides seeing your doctor, but you might look into your diet. But let's go down. A sexless marriage aren't always a problem. Everyone defines or definition of a normal sex life varies. And if a sexless marriage works for your relationship, there is no need to change it up. However, if this is an issue you're struggling with, there is a solution. Consider spoke with Sarah Cooper, AASECT certified sex therapist and director of Center for Love and Sex, to answer the most common questions around sexless marriage. Number one, how do I know if I'm in a sexless marriage? Is there a normal amount of sex to have? And before we read that, if you go back to the stream, which I will put at the end of this, I had the discussion with Coach Ali. If you're listening, Coach, give me a shout out about retaining your essence, your seed. The importance why a man should not be constantly bussing. There's certain times during the week when it's okay to bust. And what I've noticed with this culture, we are very much over sexualized. Sex is promoted very high. It's so high that it's like you could go to the store and you won't be surprised you pop up and you see a video of some type of degradacy of images of sexual images, from body images, um, gestures, etc. And is more prevalent throughout the internet, i.e., digital equipments, computers, laptops, cell phones, tablets, etc. You know what I'm talking about. That you are very much overstimulated in this culture. Let's look into it. Some researchers define a sexless relationship as one. Wait, hold on. I forgot to do that. Sorry. Um, where's the article? All right, let me read that again. Some research define a sexless relationship as one in which there has been no sexual activity for the past year. However, other studies define sexlessness as having fewer than 10 sexual encounters in the last year. Talk about spicing your sex life. When discussing sexuality, one has to do away with the term normal as there is a lot of self judgment, shame involved. Research use the scientific terms average to dis- disengage, satisfy to the population they're studying. And they talk about average. What they mean, average at best. And normally in sex, that depends. Some men should not be average, should be above average. Yes, I see you. The link is in the email. Um, how do I start a dialogue about our sex life after a significant amount of time without sex? Hmm. Simple. You have discussions. You have questions with your mate. And I'm gonna say this, and I put points on myself, but everybody could apply. If we're in any relationship, monogamous or polyamorous, they want to call it, we should always, as men, how well are we having conversations with our ladies about sex? You know the problem with communities, including the black community, is sex is taboo. Yeah, I said it. It's very taboo. We're not comfortable talking about sex, being as freaky as we want to be. I have dedicated a small series, which I'll probably start up again, called Porn Talk. Because let's be honest, our people are very much fascinated with sex. Now, why are we so fascinated by sex? There are many factors that goes into this. I'll give you one because you've been bred it back in slave days. That's one. That's only give one snippet. I'm not going into more detail. But we are very much sophisticated about sex more than ever. And I think with the help of images, it kind of brews our curiosity of sex. It makes us want to have more, want to do more things, do more experimental things. I see you, Topaz. I'm gonna let you up in a second. And it goes right down to that we just feel that we need to get some for to release certain stress that we encounter. So let's go down. It's best to let your partner know you'll like to talk about your sex life and inquire as to when a good time might be. This way, you're not springing it on them, and you each have time to think about what you like to say. Number three, we both want to have sex, but I feel like too much time has passed and we can seem to make the move. How we can start to regain some intimacy. Mm. Matter of fact, let me pause and let my guest come up. Let me put 1 second. Hello, Tobias. Hear me?
Hey, Chaos, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you good.
Okay,
All right. Let me just continue reading and then
okay.
all right. So now let's look. We both want to have sex, but we feel like too much time. Okay, I read that. So, well, you like I said, intimacy that takes time. You got to make time to be intimate. But like I said, if you have a very healthy sex with each other, y'all make the time. But let's go in what it says. At the Center for Love and Sex, we offer warm up exercise for couples to regain physical connection after long periods of celibacy. They may include tantra, like exercising of eye glancing, exotic massages, or flirtatious games to break the ice. The couple does this exercise on their own at home and then return to a couple session to discuss their reactions and what turns them on so as to build momentum. Number four, since menopause, I haven't want to have sex. In this common, and is there a way to restore my libido? Now, Topaz, you're here because you're a woman, so you could probably explain this better. I'm a man, I don't deal with menopause. So, if you want to entwine before I read what is said here.
Oh, okay. Well, I do want to just say this, right? So, like, It's the answer to your title in the live stream. No, the men should not just accept that, and the reason is because there are a lot of people that think that sex is a need, and I don't know how I feel about that because I determine need as if you're gonna live or die without it. So I don't think it's a need, but it is a very preferred and pleasurable activity if done correctly, and it shouldn't be off the table in an intimate relationship. You're supposed to be able to do whatever with your partner. And if you can't do that because there's some kind of barrier, then that means something is wrong. So to accept it means you're not going to get at the heart of what's going on, what's wrong, what's causing a distance between you and your partner. So that's my answer to your title.
Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Let me read on to and one thing that's good that you answer that because let's be honest. What I find now to a lot of what I'm hearing now, some certain podcasts, certain channels that reveal certain
Hmm.
things about this, that I feel that certain men that's either married for a long time or divorced for a reason that some some men just sit there and just accept something from what I'm hearing, from what I'm listening to. But
Hmm.
I could give my answer. What men should not do. That's not a story. But like I said, you're married. I mean, if you and your wife or girlfriend that's now wife been comfortable having sex up to this point, and now you're married, it slowly stops. It's very questionable, and it
Hmm.
goes back to that. There's either two things. There's not enough communication because there's something wrong. Because once you're married, you're supposed to have communicate your issues and come to resolution and solutions. You should not, as a man
Hmm.
or a woman, should accept anything, especially the most powerful thing is sex. That really holds and breaks. And let's be honest, Topaz. I hear a lot of women complain about the cheating in the black community.
Hmm.
Now, if you're a woman and you're not give your man some for whatever reason, you just actually invite that this man should try mess around and hope not to get caught if he still function. Which most men, last time I checked, a lot of men still able to get it up, or if they can't get up, they're going to get something to make get it up. Correct?
Oh
Because they have
yeah,
fixed
but
up.
okay, so
Yeah.
chaos. Let me also say this: I don't believe that cheating is an acceptable answer because, right? Because the dude, if you're in a committed relationship, that means you're supposed to work with the ups and downs. So if she's not giving you sex, there's something going on. It could be her just throwing a tantrum and being petty, in which case you need to leave her because she's being childish. Or it could be something that's actually wrong, in which case maybe if you can support her through that, she might be able to benefit from your help, and then it wouldn't be a problem anymore. If you're going to cheat, it means you're still going to stay with this person, but you're going to make them fight that battle all on their own. So I feel like if they're being childish and playing games by withholding, then you need to leave them so that they know that that's not acceptable behavior. If something is going on wrong, then you need to stay with them and try to work it out and figure it out. And yes, you have needs and everything, but when you're in a committed relationship, y'all are both, committing to one another. Y'all are one. So if she has a problem, you have a problem, and it would be vice versa. What if, like, people don't talk about what happens if the man is like really, really, really depressed or something, and his libido is low. If he gets like high blood pressure or some medical issue and it affects his libido, or if he has, ED and he can't get it up. Like, I would tell the woman, you don't get to cheat either. Now, if he's withholding, trying to be funny, then you need to leave him because he's being childish. But if something's going on, then you agreed by being in a committed relationship with that person to work through it with them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And during the early parts of this article, it did mention that. And the funny thing, like I said before, you have to really have that conversation with your sniffing other. I mean, if you're a man that you're not, you know, a person that gets it like that, or you cheat or what do you say, I mean, you gotta have a good conversation with your girlfriend or wife real well. I mean, communication is always key to when things don't go right.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with many communities, including our own, is we're very much more than ever because we could say we're millennials, Gen X, or whatever. That communication is not really fun upon us in our generation now. We have become more digitized. It's more what they call non-verbal communication. Back then, people had to communicate. People talk. We're not doing that as people much, very less now. So let me continue to read this. How long is this article? It's not long. So number
How
four,
many bullet
sister.
points does it have?
No, I just pulled this up to just to bring it more home. There's four, five, oh, five bullet
Oh, cause
points.
okay, so
It's
you
like so,
almost through because D Darrell asked
yeah.
a question in the chat, and I'll try my best, but D Darrell will probably be the best person to come up here and explain it. But we'll do that after we finish with the article.
Yeah. Okay. According to studies, low desire is reported in 12% of the mid midlife women ages 45 to 64, and 7% among women 65 or older. About one third of women who report low libido also express distrust about this occurrence. Because your body has lower hormone levels after menopause, your mind isn't receiving the same physical arousal sensations, which in the past would ping your mind to think about sex. In addition, the vaginal tissues have thinned out, and many women report more discomfort or outright pain when attempting penetration vaginal sex. Libido is a complex mixture of biological, psychological, and relational variables. Thus, restoring one libido requires doing a thorough assessment. It may include physical treatment like hormone creams or pelvic physical therapy to alleviate pain. Depending on how well your relationship with a partner is, one might seek out a sex therapist training in integration couple counsel skills with menopause concerns, which I'm not sure if you need to. I think I deal with certain things in therapy, not like this, correct?
Well, and let me say this. So, a sex therapist has an additional certification, which means that they go undergo additional training about like the sensations, the bodily responses, the needs that you have, things like that. They learn about like menopause, ED. They learn about the barriers to overcome, what that means, and all of that. I don't have that training. Also, that's one of the specific fields in the field that I stay out of. I stay out of sex therapy. I stay out of working with perpetrators of sexual crimes and perpetrators of domestic violence. So, as much as I know about it, is going to be like the very basic foundation. And so, what a sex therapist does, this is not going to be a therapist that's in there coaching you through the act. This is a therapist that's talking to you about the potential barriers and problems and ways to overcome it. It's not what a lot of people think.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. All right, let's continue. The other crucial ingredient may include creative, a new toolkit that reunites erotic thoughts and fantasies. So you're actually getting your mind back into thinking about sexuality. Much like the old adage, out of sight, out of mind, the new theme for women who have lost their mojo should be out of mind, out of desire. Your mind
Hmm.
can be put to great use to re-nourish a confidence and ability that I've coined it as sex esteem. That's something new. I run sex esteem groups for women and men of different ages to help them discuss some of these challenges, issues, and to learn new skills and developing innovative paths to erotic desires. And number five, but before we continue, if y'all watching the stream now, please hit the like button. You could share this as well. And I see Mr. Durrell in there. I'll probably let him up after the fifth. Actually, I'll let him up now. Can you hear me now, D Durrell?
Hey, what's up, guys? How y'all doing?
I'm good.
Hey, Deidre.
Hey, what's up? What's up? I just was I'm not gonna stay too long because I'm kind of in and out doing stuff, and I
Okay.
got family coming over
Okay.
and so forth. But I thought this was an interesting topic to talk about and so forth. And the reason why I brought up about sensei focus and so forth is that I think a lot of times um, we focus a lot on the actual behavior of the act of having sex
Hmm.
instead of the things that precede the sex. as far as being emotionally
Mhm.
balanced, the stabilization of the relationship, and so forth. And also, just the fact of communication and having the environment where things are pretty much cohesive between the um, the two partners, and so forth. And I think that when we look at intimacy and so forth, and doing that, it's more than just the physical act itself. Because if you're a person that believes in touching, caressing, just showing levels of intimacy, it's more than just actually having sex. um Intimate conversation, just doing things actively, attentiveness, and so forth. And so, I wanted to bring up the thing about, I'm not certified as a sex therapist or anything like that, but I in marital therapy and so forth, that those are things that are talked about a lot, as far as
Mhm.
people not having, not having sex consistently, one partner wanting more sex, one maybe wanting less, or and as all types of issues that can contribute to that. And so I asked the question about sensei focus. That's a therapy technique that's used a lot with this particular issue. And to me, the focus of that is on you basically focusing on your partner, um as far as you touching and feeling in certain areas and so forth, but not necessarily having the act of sex itself, and basically guiding the partners through, basically stimulating one another through touch and so forth, and not just necessarily the end result of having sex. The purpose of that is to, in some way, produce levels of pleasure, or what we
Mhm.
may coin as maybe foreplay in a sense, and as far as connecting and so forth, and not just the fact of, okay, we're about, you just penetration, and so forth. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that. I do think that when this issue is talked about, and I plan to do, um I seen a lot in the manosphere, people were talking about sexless marriages, and that was kind of brought up with
Mhm.
a certain intellectual in the manosphere, who talked about being in a marriage. I think and he had a sexless marriage, like the second half of his the marriage that he had, and I think his wife ended up dying. And but I do know that for like 5 or more years, he did not have sex. But I think what people missed out on, they focused so much on the fact of him not having sex. They didn't focus on uh the lack of things that he said in regards to, there was no hugging, there was no kissing, there was no touching, there was no connectiveness with them. And that, to me, produces more sexual intercourse as far as the occurrences. And people just focusing on the fact of somebody making a conscious decision not to have sex. Usually in these situations, when people are involved in a sexless marriage, there is a gradual period in which people become, they don't prioritize one another, they don't show more attention, they don't communicate, they don't verbalize. There's a gradual decline in that. It just doesn't start in just one day. Oh, we went 6 months without having sex. No, we find that, and research shows that, you know a longer a person, like the average person, after about 2 to 3 years, particularly if you're having children, the occurrences of sex greatly reduce for the average married couple. Okay, and that's because
Mhm.
the mistake is made that when you get through that honeymoon period of being married to somebody, once things come about like children, you're trying to do more things in regards to working more hours. You're doing things with other family members. We tend to prioritize a lot of things, and we kind of over indulge ourselves with a lot of activities. And sometimes a lot of American couples, they focus on so many things outside of their marriage or their relationship, and then it comes into play in which one may be too tired, or they just not up for it. They just not feeling sexual. And to me, more than anything, the redirection should be about showing attention to one another. The redirection should be towards trying to satisfy one another, and trying to um, take care of one's needs, or be there to be there for the other partner's needs and so forth. So um, I plan to talk more about that. I just thought it was curious because I've heard other content creators talking about sexless marriages, and I think that's been something that's talked about because they talk a lot about guys being single and being sexless, but that's something to me. I think my 5 or 6 years being in the management, that's the first time I really seen people focus on as far as married people not having sex. And I think that's a very interesting topic to tackle in regards to all of the dynamics behind of the reduction of sex over time, interest and so forth, and just lack of being interactive to produce the moment in which it can allow you to want to have sex.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, Darrell.
That's very
Um,
true because it's a whole lot that goes before the completion of the actual act.
Exactly.
yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, and and I think I know for me, therapeutically wise, when I deal with couples who have sexless marriages, and I'm gonna be honest with you, most of the sexless marriages that I've dealt with ended in divorce for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them did,
Besides
Mm-hmm.
finance,
huh?
besides the finance, usually it's usually money or sex that leads to
Well,
divorce.
it's usually financial infidelity, poor communication, but in regards to sexless marriages, because most marriages are not sexless, but
Mhm.
in the situations where I've dealt with sexless marriages, they usually ended in divorce because one partner um became hypersexual,
Okay.
meaning that because of going without, they end up either cheating or being reckless sexually that end up causing more problems that led to the divorce. So, matter of fact, the last sexless marriage that I actually dealt with was actually about 2 years ago. I was dealing with a Caucasian couple in which this guy didn't touch his wife in over 2 years, and so as a
Wow.
result
Mm-hmm.
of that, she
Crazy.
she basically and the thing was it is that he no longer he physically just was not attracted to her, and he actually didn't touch her, wouldn't kiss her, wouldn't do anything. He didn't find her attractive. He said that it just slowly declined, and so as a result of that, she would act out by going to bars, getting drunk, and having sex with random men.
Damn.
But it
Damn.
took a while for it. I mean, she didn't initially just get to that point. It took about
Right.
8 months where she couldn't take it, where she was so starved for sexual attention that she acted in that way. It wasn't right. It wasn't justified, and we had to work through that and process that. But 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 it can be symptomatic. It can basically be a precursor to other issues because I mean, being that you're not getting it, but to me, there's a lack of attention, a lack of showing affection towards each other, non-sexual wise, and so forth. That leads to that. So it's a lot more complex than the actual act itself.
Right. And here's my issue, right? It's like for it to get to a point of it being 2 years where he hasn't touched her, I'm guessing that a couple of years before that, even if he touched her, it was few and far in between. So that last 2 years was just the marker that they chose to talk about. But it doesn't just like overnight he just wakes up like she was getting it regularly, then one day he just clicked, no, done.
Exactly, exactly. It was a slow progression of what I've seen is that the honeymoon years and so forth. You probably having sex whenever you can. The kids come into play, or the career starts to become more pervasive in the relationship. Then it goes to 2 or 3 days a week. Then it goes to where it's 1 or 2 days, and then now you're starting to plan. Are we
Mm.
gonna only have sex on
Hmm.
weekends? Are we gonna only have sex on Fridays? And to me, that's a death killer in a marriage. When you start planning, pre-planning for sex,
Yep.
that to me is a sign. Because to me, sex is supposed to be something spontaneous, or you know you're gonna do it at night or whenever, or when you just whatever, whenever you have the time. But when you start pre-planning for sex, where 9 o'clock on Friday or Saturday or whatever we having, that to me is
Yeah, it started to become a chore, like something
yes,
that it's like one more thing on the list. There's no pleasure involved in it.
exactly. So those were the things that eventually it came to, into not having sex at all, not even giving compliments to make a female seem sexy. And I think that a lot of times for men, particularly in these communities that I think are incels, there's a lack of them understanding. And even though they claim they understand female nature, they don't understand the power of words when a female is connected to you and telling women things to make them feel a certain way, and how that can um, initiate their thought process to want to be more sexual. You know, small,
Hmm.
consistent comments daily can go a long way. Telling a woman, noticing something about her that nobody else noticed in a positive way can go a long way. But it's hard for people that are awkward socially and verbally to understand that. And so just the fact that you noticing, oh, I seen you changed your lipstick, it looks pretty, or your hair look just those things mean something. When you do that consistently, and those things can trigger a sexual response. It can trigger the mindset of feeling sexy or feeling, and so forth. It goes
Yeah, it's
both
about
ways.
esteem.
Yes,
Because
yes,
that implies a connection to this person where you do notice that they changed their lipstick, and then their connection to you is they changed it to something that you enjoy. You know, the thing that, like, I stay away from marriage counseling. But one thing that I've always talked to the clients that I do have, that somehow, like, maybe 1 or 2 sessions they want to do like a marriage session, is the connection that you have. Do you still feel like you look forward to coming home and seeing this person? Is this still the person that you want to tell about your day? Is this the person that you still notice their patterns? And so if something were to change, would you see it? Would you notice it? Like, are you still paying attention to this person? Because once you get to the point where you started to just kind of basically take their presence for granted, it means it's no longer special to you. You're no longer excited to interact with this person. Sex is going to be off the table pretty soon.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah. And the interesting about all this, what you said, Deidre, and I know I'm talking to a therapist, that this is something that not everybody likes to deal with. When I said earlier in this broadcast, but it needs to be discussed because and I tell people, get away from the porn aspect of things. Let's be with logic. We're human beings. We need everything. We need food, clothing, and sex. When one is not occupied enough, there's gonna be always be problems. Um, you get me? So the best way to solve this, communication is vital. And I said earlier, Darrell, that as people, just in general, we're not communicating enough. We're very much more antisocial in this environment. We feel nonverbal communication is just enough, and we'll just leave in hope that people are going to figure out or be psychics at what's wrong. I said, no, you're not psychics. Talk, open your mouth. But if you are what we call awkward, which you hear some of the men are that they complain about, you're gonna have a hard time not only hold on to women, but that woman's gonna fuck behind your back. If you're not careful as a man. So
But see, here's the thing. Don't worry so much about what she's going to do. The point is, there's something that's stopping you from wanting to touch her, whether she cheats on you or not. Like, the biggest issue I think people need to focus on first is the fact that it's not happening in your relationship. I personally, if I could, would try to talk to people about, even if your partner cheated on you because you guys haven't had sex in 2 years, don't focus so much on the fact of what they did. Get back to the point of where y'all split apart. Because technically, if a person doesn't feel connected to you, and the reason why it's so tempting and so easy for them to do it is because they don't actually view it as cheating. They view it as fulfilling a need. So if you're gonna sit there and berate them for something that they did, you are overlooking the fact that you two have split up emotionally and mentally.
Okay. Okay. So, but let me ask
Right.
a question to
Correct.
on the panel. If let's say your significant other, let's say, and I don't know if you want to answer. Say, let's say he stepped out in the marriage, and you discover that he cheated, right? I mean, wouldn't that make it more easy for him to say, I'm out and walk out? Not gonna deal with no therapy. We're not gonna come walk out. You cheated me, you broke my heart. That's it. Wouldn't that be the best way? Or people that's married should be able to really talk about what's the reason why to work it out. What's your views, Pass? And you can probably answer this too, D. Directly. You're married. You're a married one on this.
What, I can't hear the question because you went kind of low.
Okay, can you hear me good now?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
good.
now.
I was saying, let's say for instance, let's say I don't know if I want to use you as an example. Let's say your significant other has went and cheat during the marriage. Wouldn't it be the
Hmm.
best course to just just say I'm out, no negotiation, nothing, just I don't want no therapy, I don't want to fix it. I just want to just walk out and sign the paper, let's move on. Would not be the easy way out, or every person, either a man cheated on a relationship or the woman cheated on a man, that they should try to talk it out or go to these type of counselors to see what's really wrong, to really fix it instead of just
Well,
end the
okay,
relationship.
so to me it depends. It depends on the seriousness of the relationship. If it's a marriage or a long-term partner or y'all have a family together, stuff like that, I would say that it's very important for them to try to work it out first. Because otherwise you're getting ready to create an upheaval in your life that you may or may not have to be going through, right? But let's say that this is somebody you've only been dating for a couple of weeks. Y'all have been serious for like about a month maybe, and then all of a sudden one person loses interest. Then I would say, yeah, the easy answer is probably to just let that go because you haven't really invested anything. Once you start investing things, it's not easy to just throw all of that away because people have emotions. You may be done with the relationship, but the other person may not have seen that coming. So they may not be really done. And for the part of the commitment, if you're going to begin a commitment, it needed to be mutual. So if you're going to end a commitment, it at least needs to be talked about and given the chance to work.
Okay. What's your answer, D. Darrell? Since you're the married one on here. I mean, it's no
Yeah.
shade. It's good that you've been married now for now going on 17 years, so you're doing something right. Just like
Right.
I
No,
have.
and also he works in the field, like he's doing these types of services. So no, I get it.
I do think it is important as Topaz talked about. You have to consider the context of the relationship and your the level of emotional tie that you have to a person and what is invested both emotionally and also financially and so on. You can't necessarily make decisions that abruptly. If if you've been married to somebody 5 or more, 10 years, as opposed to somebody you only been dating for 6 months. And so I do think in that process you would have to tackle um, the decision itself and how it's going to affect you. As a therapist, your goal is to guide them to making decisions that they think will best benefit them, not necessarily make that decision for them. But however, I think it's important to understand that if and also how you value. Not everybody, and although what you may hear online, everybody don't view infidelity the same. And so
Correct.
on.
Correct.
Some women don't care if you cheat as long as you taking care of business at home. You got those that are zero tolerance. You got those who only deal with so much. Don't embarrass me. So I think you also have to look at that. But relatively, generally speaking, um, most women that I have seen, if men make mistakes, they're only willing to they'll put up with it, but for only so much. They're only going to put up with so much of it. Not that they're going to like it, not that they are going to act like it doesn't happen, but they're only going to put up with it for so much. And then once they feel like, hey, I'm tired of dealing with this shit, they out. That's That's what I've seen for the most part. So, um,
Yeah.
she co-signed that.
Yeah, no, because I mean, because I have seen that. Like some people, here's the thing about getting help, right? There are couples that don't come to get help until it's a huge big deal that they can't get over. You
Right.
know, that's part of the problem about mental health services. People have this view of it. So a lot of people feel like, oh, this is just an issue with a relationship. So that doesn't mean that it's like they view therapy as it's only helpful for an individual. But in a relationship, committed relationship, you two are as one if you're actually committed to one another. So that is, in fact, like something that can be helped in therapy. So like a lot of people, they only show up in the office when it's to that instance, and at that point when you listening to some of this stuff, you like, oh, I don't really know a coping strategy that the brain comes with that would be able to be okay with this. Like when they tell you the dynamics of how their relationship got started, what they agreed on, and then what happened, you know, sometimes I'm fresh out of ideas.
Yeah, and that's true because to me, some things you got to understand. This is not a it's not an exact science, and some things people just not gonna get over. And to me,
Hmm.
and that's why I talk about that. There's also healthy exits of a relationship. If you know you're in a toxic
Hmm.
relationship where it cannot be resolved, why stay in it? I think the best course is to leave the relationship and move on. And there are people who stay in toxic relationships for years, and they make each other miserable. That's just as bad. There are people that are willing.
Right.
I know this for a fact, particularly with other cultures. Now, I don't see this a lot in black community, but in other communities, particularly the majority of the community, if
Yeah.
they know somebody getting an inheritance, a business, or some other finance, they'll
Hmm.
stay in that toxic relationship and ride it out.
Well,
They will ride
Hmm.
it out to the end. And to me, that's unhealthy. They'll make their kids miserable. They'll make the family miserable just for that. And to me, that is just as bad um, as someone doing the behaviors itself for you to be willing to stay in a toxic relationship. You know, that's not
Yeah,
necessarily
because look
been,
at what that's saying.
huh?
No, I'm saying, yeah, because look at what that's saying. That's saying that whatever it is you think this person is standing to gain is worth more than your dignity. You know, so when you were talking about healthy exits, there's a reason why that happens. Like some people need, that support, that assistance to get out of a situation because for them, when they exit something, that's the only way they know how to exit anything.
Right?
This might be
Exactly.
the first time they've ever even heard of the fact that, yeah, I can be okay with losing something. So a lot of people don't handle loss well. It's a process. And losing a relationship, you do go through some grief. And if you've never had to deal with that, then you're gonna be all over the place. So they rather stay, because they're not prepared to handle the grief part after the relationship. So they stay and everybody's miserable, including themselves. And then with that, they're passing up on positive opportunities to be happy and they are causing problems for themselves and everybody around them.
Mm, I see. I see. I see. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
That says it. Well, let me read the last bullet point. Let me see. Okay, my mic good. All right. Number 5. If sex is off the table, do you recommend proposing the idea of an open marriage? And it states here, before introducing the prospect of an open marriage, I suggest you and your significant other go to see an AASECT, a certified sex therapist, by telling your partner you love you love them, but aren't willing to give up partner sex. They may agree to do a deeper dive into what is contributing to their disinterest and whether there are any options to reopening a sexual relationship again. If one partner is very sure they are no longer interested in partner sex, you can recommend they read this article. A discussion how couples establish expectations when creating an open relationship. There are relationships in which only one partner sees other people outside the relationship. They may see this other person and agree upon numbers of days or on a specific day of the week. so they can still invest time and energy into their primary partner. The couples may agree that their shared home is off limit to an outside partner, or that the outside partner should be in their social circle. Considering spoke with a man in his mid 60s who wishes to remain anonymous about his experience in a sexless marriage that ended in divorce. He met his wife in the mid 1980s when they were working in the same field and began dating. After a fairly long engagement, they married in the early 2000s. He said their sexless marriage lasted for 12 years. Damn. So,
Shit.
woo!
See,
Let me continue.
Man.
but see that, but
Yeah,
see
yeah, I'm gonna let y'all.
that's a sign of other things. See, he that's surface stuff. That's other things that involved that led to that. It, being sexless for
Mhm.
12 years, that means y'all ain't sleeping in the same bed.
Facts.
Y'all basically
Mhm.
roommates. There's a lot of other stuff going on that led to that. You know that he's not mentioning.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
limits to
because
that.
that's the only way that can happen. Like after, like here's the thing: most people would have never been still there after 12 years of no sex. And then what's happening is none of them are getting those messages that like just kind of turn you on or whatever throughout the day. So there's nothing that's like sparking that catalyst for you to think about sex. So like, how do they avoid all of that for 12 years, or somebody getting those messages and then turning the other person down? There's a whole lot more. If you get the 12 years, you know how much stuff you got to be them like fought off and went through and experienced.
Mhm. Right.
Exactly. Like really, like that shit is beyond. I don't get it, man.
Look, D. Darrell say he ain't going.
I don't see. I don't understand it because man, I'm like people talking about like 2 years and 6 months and like I can't. It's hard to like. I mean, I see it, but I really have a difficult time as a therapist understanding from a physiological standpoint you going that long without sex. That's just me. Maybe it's just me looking at it because I'm looking at it like there's so much sex
Mhm.
driven things in our society. I mean, you look at a billboard, it's sexual. Half the commercials are sexual. There's a lot of things that
Mhm.
constantly stimulate our minds to think about sex or to see something in a sexual manner. You know what I'm saying? Like even the
Mhm.
internet. Internet is full of sexual things. TV
Which I
full of
said
sexual
earlier.
stuff. Huh?
Yeah. I said this earlier in the broadcast. Yeah, there's so
Yeah,
much we're
like
everybody
everything is so sexually driven. It's hard for me to see how people go that long without sex. Like on both women and I just is. But I know I see it all the time. Where the thing about I see somebody trying to get a promotion. They trying to you know start a business and they get so driven in working 60, 70, 80 hours a week where they come home, they too tired to have sex. They don't think
Mhm.
about it. The
Mhm.
libido goes down, things like that. But it's that's just man, 12 years. That's like that's over a decade. That's basically like you just
Mhm.
there just
Not
for the
me.
fact on paper.
Absolutely not. You be lucky if it lasted 2 years with me. Oh hell no, man.
Man,
Well, and here's my thing. Like that's something that you could do if you're single. That means you have somebody in the household with you that you have had sex with, were at some point attracted to. So you got these memories of like it's not off the table. But you're like if you're single, you're not having all of that in your household with you. So you may get enthralled in other things. If you have somebody in a relationship, this is not new territory to you. So there's something that is literally blocking that. It's not just the absence of opportunity. It means you have the opportunity and you're purposely foregoing that.
yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
that's that's a lot. But I know I've never had nobody go that long. I've seen situations maybe 2 years, 2 or 3 years, but 12 years is man. I can't even fathom what that would feel like.
Hmm.
That's extreme. But to me, that speaks to the extremity of the dysfunction in their relationship that they have not addressed or confronted. I think, and a lot of times we got to understand that a lot of people that do this, there's a lot of repression that goes on sexually for sexual thoughts, fantasies, and doing. That's a lot of repression that can really,
Mm-hmm.
really hinder you in a sense of you, because a lot of people attempt to try to repress sexual thoughts in the midst of fasting or not or being celibate, you know. And to me, when you start repressing to a point where you can't do day-to-day activities, that's a sign that, hey, you met your threshold. Why torture yourself through that?
Hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that this is basically who you are as a person. If your threshold is 3 to 6 months, why you basically pushing yourself to not do something that really physiologically you want and have a drive to do, and it's becoming um too unbearable. It can trigger hypersexual behavior where you will end up doing something reckless sexually because of that. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? And that's the danger of doing that. And I think it's about you knowing and understanding and accepting who you are. And this is what you are. I mean, communicate to your partner. If you're single, well, if you're single, you really, you have the leeway. But you're better off just, hey, I can't do this no more. I can't function like this. We need to make preparations to do whatever if we can't work this out. I can't function in
Right.
a marriage where I go 10 years without having sex. That to me that's not a marriage. That's just roommates who just happen to be married on paper.
Yeah, because look at everything that you're passing up: anniversaries, birthdays, like interactions with other people. Like, let's say y'all still go out and with friends and whatnot, right? I mean,
Right?
everything that people would use in a relationship to culminate at the end of the day with sex, you're like you do it, and then you just still, you know because here's my thing. It's two options: either y'all aren't doing any of that, y'all not celebrating anniversaries, y'all not even have talking to each other, or you're doing them, and then at the end of the day you aren't doing what most people have conditioned themselves to do on their anniversary.
Right?
Hmm.
Exactly. That's wild.
So you're
Yeah.
you're basically breaking ties that a lot of people, have actually have, and a lot of ties that just exist. You're breaking all of those. You're actually, if you stay in that relationship and you aren't seeking any outside relief, you're now going to be abnormal. You're now creating abnormal connections. You know, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it makes.
does. 'Cause that is definitely that's definitely outside of the normal range of behavior. Definitely. So it's um and I know some people like to use religion and other means to make excuses of why they doing certain things. But I mean, your body is going to react and function the way it is. It's no stopping it.
Yep.
The urge is going to come back.
Hmm.
And that's just basic human physiology.
Nothing.
But guys, I got to get going. I appreciate you all for having me on Chaos.
All
Topaz, I'm
right.
gonna email you because I want to got to link up with you again.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm here. Just
All
let me
right,
know.
y'all
I'll
take
be
care.
looking out for it.
Okay.
Okay, you too.
Thank you, Dieter. Wait, let me give him his welcome applause. It's that sound card again. So, stepping up
Yeah.
in life. Anyway, let me finish these off. All right. Did you just? I hear music in the background. Is that old
Yeah,
Java?
I'm trying to find out how to turn it off. It's this application on my phone, and I'm trying
Is
to
it?
shut it. There we go.
Ringtone? It's ringtone. Okay, check
Huh?
it. No, never mind.
No, I
Okay.
couldn't
All right.
find the settings. I'm my bad. I'm bad. I'm here.
Okay. Did you discuss sex with your wife? This is the other question in this article. I did not discuss it because I couldn't believe she was unaware of it. But also, we rarely talk about how we felt. We both hated confrontation. That's not good. How did the
Hmm.
sexless marriage end? We became more and more distinct, never doing anything together, and then practically never speak to one another. I never intended to go looking for a sex outside of the marriage, but I met someone remarkable and charismatic by sharing accident and began having an affair. This led to me asking for a divorce. Okay. When you
Mhm.
look back now, is there anything you would have done differently? In retrospect, I obviously should have voiced my feelings of anger and disappointment after the first 6 months of not having sex. I foolishly thought she could read my mind when it came to what I was missing and needing. All it did was let my contempt fester and grow for years and years. Well, after the second year, bro, you should not let it go anything longer than that because
Mhm.
year two, it's going to go to year five, and as lo and behold, 12 years. Unacceptable. Through a sexless marriage can be a challenge. It needs not mean the end to local or locate a therapist who may be able to assist you. Take a look at the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselor, and Therapy. And that's the end of this article. Let me stop sharing.
Mhm.
And like I said, I'll put that in the description for those that want to read if you catch back to this podcast. But like I said, these are the five scenarios that I just added on today's stream. As you know, I had Topaz and I had Deidre here. Um, and knowing my views, which I have one up there, but I'm gonna be honest and raw, diggy, like I be real as a man. Now, if you're a man, if you're not voicing your opinion or expressing why you're not fucking me to your wife, and she's not giving no answer verbally, then by all means, dudes might have to do some sinful acts, and find that. And I say is with no doubt, with a clear conscience, or either that you could be like any other person, just file for divorce. But in the case of black people, we all know most men, and I think this is going to eventually change because we have a new rise of young black males that's 18 and becoming in their mid and late 20s. That's going to change. You as a man, if you feel you're not getting what you want from your wife, either you're married in your 20s or 30s, then by all means, you must walk out and ask for divorce. Do not sit there stay if you feel you're that mode one. Don't sit there and you know, have a side chick and then have her sign the papers. No, you a man. You initiate. You said, "Baby, this ain't gonna work. I'm gonna divorce you," and keep pushing. And let me tell you why I say
Mhm.
it's facts. Because a lot of women today in our communities don't expect that the average man, especially black men, to sit there and say, "I want a divorce and want to end this." Because most black men, and I heard this from Mr. Johnson, they're afraid of the consequences. I'm telling you, as a fucking black man, fuck the consequences. Accept it. Embrace it. Be real with it.
Mhm.
You see, let me tell you something why black men we drop the ball. And this is not gonna be nice. I'm gonna say because we're not upfront and honest what we really want. We're not willing to walk away if we don't get what the hell we want to get. And if you really want to change the community as men, you're going to have to start do that and do that now. If your wife is not sucking your dick and fucking you on a regular basis, and you still getting up, you and her have this conversation, and she can't give you an articulate answer, then obviously you know what to do. You don't have to sit there go get a side chick. No, just fuck that. Just say, well, I want a divorce, and find the next chick. It's that simple. Now, if you have kids, then that might be challenging, but nonetheless, you gotta be verbal and ask what you want and know why you're not getting what you want, and then you deal with the consequence as suit. And the reason I'm saying
Mhm.
it's so fast because let's be honest, a lot of men feel marriage is a what they call a prison. I hear this too many times in this community. Okay, if it's a prison, then you have in the right capability to get those keys and get out. Prison break. What's stopping you? You know what's stopping you? Is you have fear of what is going to happen. I'm telling you right now, as a man, embrace the fear, embrace any consequence that's going to lay below your feet. If you cannot do this, then I advise not only don't worry about marriage, but you don't. I don't think you should worry about interacting with the opposite sex. Live your what they call your MGTOW ways. Live even your incel fashion. Do this. Do it now because that is your deal breaker. I have no answer for you as a man. I'm gonna throw my hands up. I'm sorry because at the end of the day, women gonna respect a man, and this society is pushing and making working overtime, destroying masculinity. I'm tell you one thing: there's 99 problems to pass, and a bitch ain't one. Wifey, and you know it's not JC that made that song. It was a white man that made that song. Imagine that. You knew
Right.
learned something from that. Why this man said that there's so many problems, but a woman's not because women come and women go. In this country, it makes it easy for women to what? Go. So she wants to go and be for the I wish I had that soundbite for the streets. Let her be.
Mhm.
Let her be. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna feel emotional and all that stuff. I get it. I understand it. But fuck that. Just let her go. I say, girl, my life is better now. What happened to it? Well, she was for the streets. So I sent her back to the streets. You know? 'Cause at the end of the day,
Mhm.
women are gonna respect what your stance is. If you have no stance as a man, what you're gonna accept and don't accept, then by all means they're gonna walk over you. I'm not sure if you ever did this when your life, Topaz. If you dealt with a man that's not firm in what he wants, what you do, you'll walk over him. What when you?
Well, me, I would leave. And here's the thing, is because walking over him, that's still me doing a whole lot of extra work. So, I
Mhm.
try to make my life as easy and as comfortable as possible. I recognize that there are people that get tempted by walking over somebody, but then at some point that's gonna end. So I get it. I get where you're going with this.
Mhm. Mhm. And the reason why I'm saying is because let's be honest, women in this community they love uncompromised men on the average. On the average, I'm being blunt honest, being serious, and I'm be honest with you, as most men, you should not no woman control dictate what you're supposed to do as a man. You should be man regardless. Be productive. Do what you're supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying, hell, be on your purpose. All need to be, but you should not be. One thing, if you are married and you have these problems, and I know Darrell is going to go in more detail in the coming weeks of this. I'll probably tune in
Hmm.
in my more perspective. But the reason why I'm discussing this because this is very much a problem trend in a lot of communities. And one thing, as a man, if you put yourself in a good position, you should not, by all means, should not be deal with no sexless marriage. You get me? Now,
Hmm.
cheating, and we talked about this Topaz. We did a stream on this about accountability in the sisterhood. That I'm telling you, dudes, right now, if you're doing good, if you look good as a man or you have your monies right, women are gonna come and flock on you because they see something about you. Hell, they even want you more if you're in a relationship. That's how deep we are in this Western Hemisphere, or just in general. They will take the opportunity to break your household if needed. If you entertain them, and that's entertain them loosely. You get me? And
Hmm.
I remember even during this Derek Jackson situation or anything in regards to nature of a man of his stature, any man, even with Mr. Samuels talking about the cheating thing, I look at it as this, you know, it's going to come to the point as men, if you're not going to be upfront honest with your intentions with your girlfriend or slash wife, and you come across where she's not giving you no sex, there's only two options you could do. One, you have a side chick, which most dudes are doing right now. Pass me, ain't gonna lie about it. They're already having some woman on the side, or you could just divorce her. It's
True.
only one or the other. There's no way around it. But I'm telling you right now, as a man, I'll be fucking damned that no wife is sucking my dick and I'm not fucking. That's not gonna go. That's not gonna fly. As long as this dick got strength and it gets hard and it rise to the occasion, you're gonna get your back blown. There's no other ways around it. You know, and even with the thing with I heard this from some women. You know what I'm talking about? How they said
Mhm.
that as when we get older, the sex drive increases, and I said that's possible. But in regards to menopause, I don't know enough about that. But on those, if you would ladies, if the deal breaker is this man is getting erectile dysfunction, if your man is putting it down in the bed that good and he stop functioning, like any nurturing being, you figure out how to rise Osiris again. But then again, that takes a lot of work, ladies. And you're gonna have to learn certain things for that. And I'm not talking about sex, but you're gonna have to go back to how your grandmothers or anybody how they deal with when your man doesn't function properly. Find books like Sacred. No, no, that's this will good. Google it. Google's your friend. You find how to correct that with your man. You get me? Naturally, that's something that could be fixed. You get me?
Right.
That's not something that's forever. So when I hear women talk that stupid shit, I know you're very much disengaged with this mate, and you just don't give a fuck. Somebody see a man can get his dick hard again. Well, you Google and you find out what's wrong with him. Go to the doctor with him. See if his blood's flowing. Usually, I say this, and I'm gonna say this again. When a man can't get it hard on a regular basis, either he's still into you, or he has, like I said, health problems. Particularly, he has heart problems, because that's a sign of heart failure when his dick can't function.
Well, yeah, because it's blood flow and circulation.
Yeah,
So
it's a
here's the thing. I don't think anything on that list said anything about getting a medical checkup.
Yeah, if you read it, well, it didn't say detail, but normally, usually when you don't have that issues, it won't say because like it's an article talk about go to this therapist, but they're not gonna deal in the details of why you as a man you can't get it up, which they should put that in the article. But I would say is usually when you having hard times keeping erection and stuff, usually it's one or the other. But normally, you always got as a man, make sure you check that you're getting proper blood flow, and usually, if you're not getting it hard on a regular basis, usually one of the few things to always check is how well your blood flow is working, and make sure you're not falling in the category of coronary disease, and which is very common because usually that is a sign where you're gonna have heart failure possibly, and it could lead to stroke and all the etc. Especially with high blood pressure in the community, which is very much rampant. You get me? With high
Mm.
blood pressure, that will lead to heart failure down the line. So if you're a certain age, a black man, if you're in your 30s or 40s and you have a hard time keeping it up, you always got to check, make sure your health is always key, especially with marriage. If your wife doesn't emphasize it, hell, she might have to hold your hand and take you there. Because you know how most men, on the average, till passing, you know this, men are very stingy about checking their fucking health.
Right.
They feel,
It's
and I
the
think,
fear, they're worried about what they're gonna find, and now that means you got to do something about it.
and let's be honest, out of all things, men should always do something about it, regardless. You get me? You can't just go in there
Hmm.
and pop a blue pill, which could make you go blind. I don't care how well they redesign the blue pill, make it chewable gun. Usually, if you got to start resort to that, you're in trouble, buddy. You get me? I always look at saying what
Hmm.
is wrong with my health before anything else. I should not be taking like special things like blue pills or any special Chinese elixirs or some um, and I'm not going to detail what they are, but just to get it up or keep it up. You know, I think I talked to one dude. I think he was a Spanish dude. And he was asking things of how to keep a harder erection, so that way he don't either pre ejaculate or all the stuff, or he just want to keep up. I told him straight up simple, brother, is your diet clean? He said, what do you mean? Well, if your diet's not clean and you have a hard time keeping up, and you look like you're not an older man, you need to change that out of everything else before you think about buying these things. Because anytime if you can't keep a erection a certain period of time, that's a warning sign. You get me?
Hmm.
I emphasize, and I'm not a health counselor, but I tell people many times it's always emphasis of health. And now we're in a different season right now. I advise every person, man, and woman, to start go for their detox. I would say you might start clean your colon, and you got to start fresh because we're in spring now, and women are going to dress loosely now. And if you're a dude that wants to get it in, and you have a hard time keeping it up, I think it's the best time to go for a quick detox and make it go for a whole week at much or 2 weeks before you even start put yourself out there in the field, regardless of this environment we're in now. So, like I said, that's one suggestion I give every male is that, and like I said, when you're married and your wife is, not interested, there's certain things you might have to spice up the bedroom. Now, I'm not gonna say what you're supposed to do in the bedroom because there's certain things I have my don'ts, and I'm not going there because it's getting very controversial. But I tell you one thing: a lot of people today, Topaz, are engaged in all forms of degenerate sexual performance, even to the point now they're indulging into the toilet bowl behavior. You get my drift?
Hmm.
And I said, no, 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 don't do that. No, 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 no. So I think I said my piece. I hope this was very much educational. Any thoughtful words, Topaz, for the people to to understand or leave with?
Well, the only thing I would say in this is that you have to know your boundaries and be okay with enforcing them. Understand that sometimes if there's a problem going on right now, the earlier you start trying to work on it and fixing it, the better, the outcome, right? Being honest with yourself, being honest with the other person. And no, you don't have to accept certain things that are unhappy for you, but just at some point you got a choice. You can try to work on it, you can try to figure it out. You have choices, so be ready to handle the consequences of whatever it is you pick.
Mhm. Indeed, indeed. And my, like I said, but I didn't say this, and I'll say this again, that, like I said, you as a man of any stature, you married, you should not accept certain things. And like I said in the middle or in this broadcast, that as a man, you need to do what you need to either fix it or like I said, move on. You get me? Now I know most
Hmm.
people that this community don't like cheating, indulge cheating. I said, man, f that. Most people are going to cheat by their options, and I find that now that out of men that cheat by a percentage, I can't remember the percentage again. Women are almost just up in there in the cheating realms. So, ladies, you're not exempt. That if you feel things not going right, you're gonna find another mate to go fuck on the low, and most dudes not gonna really investigate it unless they do that TV show like Cheaters and pay for investigate, which most men are not gonna waste their time. You know what I'm saying? Then it's not gonna
Hmm.
do it. But like I said, if a dude does do that, that tells he's very much invested and he want to make sure that you're not giving away the pussy like that. You know what I'm saying? But
Nice, nice
um, um,
chaos.
oh yeah, thank you. But thank y'all for listening to this stream. If you're not familiar to Chaos Rain channel, make sure you hit the red button, the top bell, the top bell. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Chaos Rain 7. And now you can follow me on Facebook, Eric Rain. Leave a comment or inbox me through Facebook, or you could send a message through the YouTube channel for your thoughts and feelings on every video. And if you want any topics or you want to do shows here, like interviews or whatever, you could inbox me on Facebook or you could leave a comment at the end of this video here or any video on Castmate channel. So thank y'all for listening. Let the chaos reign.